going to be covering off Reservations Advanced, so a continuation of our last session on reservations. So I'm going to start with making a new reservation. I want to talk about shares in a room. There's a couple of different levels of shares that you can do. So the first one I'm going to do, I'm going to make a reservation. We're going to make it arriving on the 29th for 2 nights, 2 adults. Okay, we're going to refresh the load the data in. I'm choosing my standard room here, going to my rates, clicking the little plus symbol. Here we have our rate per day. We have the average rate column. I'm going to book the best available rate. Again, if we'd like to assign a room at the time of booking, we can do so by clicking on Enable Assignment. We're going to check off the book box, go on to our guest info. So the areas of the training that I covered last session, I'm going to breeze by a little bit quicker here. So I'm going to put Jonathan and Rebecca Fry. Whoops. Fry. So we have the title, Mr./Mrs. And here we can put Jonathan and Rebecca. We even put in an M and M, just to make sure we're covering all bases here. Whoops. 5, Jonathan Fry. Okay, I'm going to click OK. So here we have Mr. and Mrs. Jonathan and Rebecca Fry. If I go to the confirmation, it does have both guest names on the confirmation. Okay. Now, the downside with this method, if I go into the advanced search, I'm going to type in Fry. I'm going to put in the first name, R-E-B, click search. Rebecca Fry does not come up. And that's because it's technically under John and Rebecca Fry. So most times we are just searching for last name. So if I search for Fry, you know, I can't exactly tell that Jonathan's or Rebecca's part of this, but if I hover here, now I can see the Jonathan and Rebecca. So sometimes when it's longer names, like especially say the last name was Smith, you may end up with like, you know, 50 to 100 different Smiths. So it might be a little bit harder to find with longer names. Okay, so that's the only downside here. Okay, so let's go to the next level. We have a husband and wife that share an address but have a different last name. So we're going to have them coming in on the 29th. Do 3 nights. Okay, a couple of reminders of some fields here. Source of business, the question that we ask is, how did you hear about our hotel? So maybe this is our Facebook page. Guest note is a note that is specific to this guest. It will stay with the guest profile. Every single guest that you enter in will automatically have a guest profile created for them. Res note is something specific to this reservation. So now I need to add in Angelina Jolie. So I'm going to go to the Guest Share tab. I'm going to click Insert. Now here I have the option to store as guest. So I could store a whole other profile for this guest. But if it's just going to be a second name, I'm just going to put Angie Jolie in here, click Post, and then click OK. Now when I make the reservation, see how it's still under the name Brad Pitt. If I go to the confirmation, it's still going to be under Brad Pitt. Brad is the person that made the reservation, called and made the reservation, thus it is the name. If I double click on the 2 heads, that's where I can see Angelina, that was supposed to be Angie Jolie, but anyways, Angie Jolie here. Okay, so the benefit is if now I go to the search, clear the last search I did, type in Jolie. Okay, we do get the Angie Jolie here. I've used this example before in a past webinar, but this is the one we're looking for. Now when I click OK, see how it brings me out to Brad Pitt. So again, I just got to look to the two heads. Okay. Now the last one is if we have two guests that want to split the bill and they need two separate bills with their names and their addresses on it. Okay, so I'm going to make a reservation for the 29th for one night. We're going to do 2 adults. Okay, so the first guy we'll put in is Gary Pradum. And we're going to put him in Beverly Hills. I'm going to take his credit card. Let's say he has a Visa. I'm then going to go to Extra Cards, click on New Card, and put the second person's card in here. Now, a lot of times when people are splitting the bill, they don't let you know until checkout. You can do what I'm doing here at any point during the process, whether it's at reservation time, at check-in time, or upon checkout. Okay, I'm then going to go to our Guest Share tab. I'm going to insert. I'm going to click on Use Folio and see how that assigns folio number 2 to this guest. Okay, Trevor Pradum is going to get folio number 1, and that'll make more sense when we do the front office training. That's basically just giving them their own billing account. I'm going to click on Store as Guest, and this is where I would put in Mark Thornton information. We'll put him in Schenectady, New York. Okay, I'm going to click Post, and now here Room Key gives us a choice to split room charges equally. Again, this can be turned on at any point on check-in or on checkout. Okay, now the only thing with this one is on Gary Pradum, if I go to the confirmation, okay, it's still only going to show Gary's name. It's not going to show Mark's name on the confirmation. Okay, so whoever's calling to make the reservation, it's still going to be their name. Where they're going to get it is upon checkout. That's when they're going to get the 2 separate bills with the 2 separate names and addresses. Again, we'll be reviewing this when we get to the front office webinars. Okay, I'm going to click on New Reservation. At client type, we ask the guest, what is the purpose of your stay? What brings you to the hotel? In this case, the guest says they're with a company. So I'm going to click on the drop-down. I'm going to go up to Corporate. I'm then going to click on the company drop-down. And let's say this guy says he's with Certified Roofing. So I have Certified Roofing in there. We're going to make the booking for the 29th, and I'm going to make it for 10 nights. I'm going to click Refresh. Actually, I forgot that it's only one guide, so I'm going to bring that down, and if I try to continue, Room Key is going to tell me, no, you have to refresh once again. So now we have an issue. We can only see the availability calendar for the 7 nights, right? But he's staying for 10. So we have 2 options. If we click on the Details button, that will bring us into our inventory calendar. The only thing we got to be careful of, see how we're making the reservation for the 29th of April, but the inventory calendar will always default to today's date. So I would want to jump up to the 29th. I can then open it up to full screen. I can do a month view. And really, looking at this, the only room that we can't sell for those 10 days is the deluxe room because we're already oversold on May 1st on our deluxe rooms. The other option is you click anywhere on this grid on the reservation screen and just use your arrow key to move over. Again, it's really just looking for any zeros or negatives anywhere. Okay? Even if, say, you were making a reservation for 20 nights and there was a 0 at the very end and you didn't catch it, even if you do try to make the booking, Room key is going to say if there is an overbooking situation, please check Enable Overbook to continue. So you would have to click on the Enable Overbook down below and then book to continue on. So some hotels do purposely overbook their hotel. Most do not. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to sell them a standard room. So for certified roofing, instead of having the best available rate, AAA rates, and my bed and breakfast package, I now have the corporate rate attached. The average rate is different than the first night. That tells me that I need to quote each day. Okay, because here our rate goes up on the weekend. Okay, we book the rate, book the room, carry on. Okay, here we have a note that says all charges are to the individual. This note comes over from the corporate area. So when we did the webinar on corporates, I showed you where you can set up the attached note. So this tells the agent they need to get a credit card from this guest because they're responsible for all their own charges. Click OK. Now, if I go to the confirmation, really the only difference here is whenever they book with a corporate or a group, we add this field in, group/corporation, certified roofing. If they're not with a group or a company, this field doesn't even show up. Okay, okay, I'm going to make another new booking. We're going to make it again for a corporate guest. And it's going to be with Warehouser. Now, notice in the drop-down, there's a Warehouser and there's a second Warehouser. That second Warehouser means that there's a direct bill account attached to this, or a city ledger account. So Venmar has a direct billing account, Purex does not, Pepsi Corp does not, Orbitz and Priceline don't. So that's just a first indication that they may have billing, right? So I'm going to do Warehouser. We're going to do the 29th, and we're going to do 2 nights. We're going to go to my standard room, and for this one, Warehouser has their own specific rate. So the Warehouser company has the Warehouser contracted rate. When I get over to guest info, room key says direct bill, room and tax, incidentals to the individual. So because we have a city ledger account attached to this corporate account, room key will take the direct bill account as a guarantee. Because a lot of times we might be getting a phone call or a fax from Warehouser to make this booking for one of their employees. It's not until Heather arrives at the hotel will we actually get her own credit card. We might not even need a credit card, but maybe just for incidentals, right? So at this point, I don't even need a credit card to make the booking because we'll see that the guarantee says guaranteed to city account. All right, so Larry Appleton with the other company where all charges were to the individual, we did need a credit card to make the booking. And he gets guaranteed a credit card. All right, Heather Lang has a direct bill account, so it's guaranteed to city account. Okay, one side note, and your managers will really direct you on how they want to deal with this. I'm just going to throw out this idea. If I go to corporate, click on the drop-down, and let's say the guy says he's with Bob's Lumber. So I look, and Bob's Lumber is not in here. So we have a choice. Technically, we could click on the little binoculars, and that would bring us into the corporate area, and we could add the company in. Okay? but then we would still have to go over to the rates and decide which rate this one is going to get. So you'll notice I have one here, star get business card. We're going to make the booking for the 29th. And what I've done is I've attached the standard corporate rate to my get business card company. So this is my just 10% off. Really, I'll give this corporate rate to anyone who wants it. Okay, so I'll say all charges to the individual, get a business card from the guest. So I would just tell Mr. Loblaw when they arrive at the hotel to bring a business card with them. I would then take that business card, I would give it to the general manager or the salesperson, and they can decide, do they actually want to put this company in the system? You know, there's nothing worse than us getting every single company in our system. There could be 5,000 companies, but maybe we only end up using like 100, right? So we want to kind of qualify the businesses that we're putting in the system. So this is a suggestion to the managers out there of what they might want to do, okay? But again, look to your managers to guide you on if there's a company not in the system, how do we want to deal with that at the time of making a booking? Some hotels would say then they don't get a corporate, they just go into a leisure booking. But that's an idea to throw out at you. Okay, let's make a new reservation. Okay, we are going to make a reservation for the 29th for one night, 2 adults. Click refresh. Here I'm seeing the availability of the hotel for April 29th. I'm now going to switch over. This person says they're actually with a group. So I choose my client type, GRP, and then I'm going to choose Smith Jones Wedding. I'm going to click refresh, and now watch what happens. We're no longer seeing the availability of the hotel. We're now seeing the availability of the group block. So when the bride and groom made this group block, they requested 10 standard rooms. So now I'm seeing the block here. So I would offer this to the guest. I click the little plus symbol under the rate, and here we actually have a wedding group rate. Now your hotel, you might just be using a manual rate for the group, in which case you would just choose that, or whatever rate plan they've attached for you to use for this group. So now I choose the wedding group rate, book, and the rest from here is the same. Again, when I get the guest info, see this res note, we have that same type of field in groups, right, that said attached note. So this is where we see that note. So for the agent, they know that they need to get a credit card from this guest. Okay, and again, the only difference here, when I go to the confirmation, we can see there with group Smith Jones Wedding. Okay, so we're going to make another new booking. Okay, we're going to make it for the 29th again. I'm going to click refresh. Again, I'm going to switch over to group. And we're going to choose Smith Jones Wedding and refresh. So now we should be down to 9 because of the reservation we just made. Now there's 9 rooms left in block. Now, what if the guest says they want a different room type? The prime example would be let's say that your hotel has smoking and non-smoking rooms. Let's say the bride and groom only asked for non-smoking, but this guest wants a smoking. Would we switch them if the room was available? Probably would. Same thing with the handicap room. Maybe the bride and groom didn't even think to put a handicap accessible room in the block, but now this person needs it. So would we still sell it to them if it is available? Again, your manager will direct you on this, but typically we would. So let's say that this guest wants a deluxe room. Now I first need to see, is this room actually available for the 29th? So I'm going to click on the details. Remember, the details is a shortcut into the inventory calendar. Okay, we're going to go to April 29th. And there I can see I have 6 deluxe rooms available. So yeah, no problem. I'll sell it to this guest. Now there's actually 2 options I have. Pros and cons to both. So managers, this is a decision for you on what access you want to give to your agents. So option 1, I would go up to the group area, click on the little binoculars, and this is a shortcut into the group area. So some managers will not feel comfortable with their front desk or reservation staff having access to the group area. So this method may not be for you. Okay, I would click Open. That will open up the group wizard. I'm going to go to number 4, the group block. I'm going to go down to the inventory in the lower left-hand corner. Okay, click on Edit Mode, and we're going to add 1 room into the deluxe and click Post. As a side note, your hotel may even say, well, if we're taking one of the deluxe, I'm going to bring the standard room down to 9. Just depends on how you feel about it. The contract stated that you were going to hold 10 standard rooms, so that's what the bride and groom is going to be expecting. So it's up to you how you kind of feel on that, if you would change the block. So once I have the block added in, I close out, close the group, click Refresh, and now we see 1 room available in our deluxe. I go to the rate. The wedding group rate is 126. Now, if I go back to the wedding group rate on the standard room, it's 90. So I'm still going to give them a deal. I'm still giving them a group rate, but it's more expensive for our deluxe room. You may want a more deluxe room, but you're still going to pay for it. Unless you guys were going to do a complimentary upgrade. Okay, let's say this was the mother of the bride. So in that case, what we can do, we can go down to, what was the rate, 90? Yeah, 90. So what I can do is I can go to Enable Rate Overriding and change the wedding group rate just for that booking. Or option 2, I can use a manual rate, either way, to override. Otherwise, if I want to leave it at the 126 where it was at, just move on. Okay, I'm going to click OK to complete this reservation. Okay, so now we're going to do something similar to show you the other option you have. So we're going to go to Group. And this time, I'm actually going to make it for the 28th for 2 nights. Smith Jones Wedding, 2 adults, click Refresh. So what we have here is, I have 9 rooms in block, and I have 0 the first night. This first night, if you remember back when we did the webinar on groups, I showed where you can do pre and post nights. So I allowed for 3 pre-nights, 3 post-nights, and this is why I did it. Okay, if you did not allow for any pre-nights, this group would not even be showing up for the 28th. The only option in that case would be to make a leisure booking for the first night and a group booking for the second night, even if it's for the same guest. Okay, but in this case where I've opened it up, so now what I want to do, I want to go into Details and check Monday the 28th and see if I have any standard rooms. And indeed, I have 72 of my standard rooms, so no problem. So again, the option could be that I click on the little binoculars and I go into the group block and I go change it the way I just showed you a second ago. But again, if you don't feel comfortable with your agents in the group area, the second option is we go down to Enable Overbook, and we make the booking from here. Now, we're not overbooking the hotel, we're overbooking the group block, because technically if we had 0 rooms in block on the first day, then we are overbooking it. Now, the only downside with this is if the room actually was sold out on the 28th and your agent did not go check the details, they could be really overbooking the hotel. Okay, so that's the only danger to that method as well. Okay, so I'm going to go to guest info. I'm going to put in Janice Jones. And complete the booking. Okay, now let's say I make a reservation. And we're going to make it for the group. We're going to make it for the 29th for the Smith-Jones wedding. Now, let's say the guest says, I want to stay 1 extra night. No problem. 2 extra nights. No problem. 3 extra nights. Still there. Now watch when I go to 5 nights altogether. See how the Smith-Jones wedding disappears. And that's because we only allowed for 3 post nights. So again, we're left with, do we want to put this guest in for 4 nights with the Smith-Jones wedding and then do a leisure booking for night 5? Or the other option, I'm going to close out of the reservation. I'm going to go into Operations, Groups. I'm going to go to the group. We're going to open it up. Okay, now when I get to this first screen, this is where we put in the 3 pre-nights and 3 posts. If I try to change that here, room key won't let me. Once a group is created, we cannot change the pre and post nights here. Everything is then taken care of on number 4, the block tab. So I go to number 4, block, we edit, and I'm going to put in May 3rd and click post. I then go back to the primary tab and room key says, okay, now we have 3 rooms before, 1 night during, and then 4 days after, and I click post to confirm on that. Now when I close out, go to make a new reservation. For group, Smith-Jones, so 1 night, 2 night, 3 night, 4 night, and 5 night. Now it's still there. Of course, we still don't have any block for those nights, so I would go check my availability, overbook, or do whatever I do. Okay, so just something to be aware of. Okay, now let's say I get a rooming list. So I'm going to go into Operations Groups. And we are going to go to, you'll notice in here, see the little yellow diamond? And you'll see this everywhere in our system. Okay, if you want to organize by certain columns, just click on the little header. So I'm going to go to the MEC Managers meeting here. I'm going to click Open. Okay, I'm going to go to number 6, the rooming list. Okay, on the rooming list, here we have our standard rooms. There's 10 of them. And I just start entering in the names. So I'm going to put Harry. Now, I'm going to use just an initial for the last name. In real life, of course, you guys would be putting the full name. Just during my webinars and training, it's just easier for me to pinpoint my examples when I'm using just an initial. I then go over and I say, okay, this guy has 1 adult, 1 child. Okay, I go down to the next one, John T. Now, I could go do the adults and children at that time, or if I want, I could just continue on down the list. Okay, then I can go over to the adults and know, okay, this one has 1, this one has 1, says child, and all. Now, here I have all the names in, and it says new, 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 new. Now, when I click post, watch what happens. See how they all become res IDs. So what I've done is I've picked up all 10 rooms in this group block. Now, after posting, a reservation is made. If you made a mistake on a name, so this John here, say it was supposed to be John, no problem, you can change it. Okay. Once you check the guest in, then you can no longer change on the rooming list. You have to change on the actual reservation. But up until check-in time, you can go and change these names anytime you want. Okay. You'll also notice down below I have an assign all room. If I did that, room key just goes and choose automatically. If I don't like what room key did, I can click on the drop down and I can put them somewhere else. Okay. Now for this group, I'm going to go back to the primary tab. This group has room tax phone calls are routed to the house account. So if I go back to the rooming list, notice that Harry and everyone else has the routed column ticked and has folio 8. Let's say for the sake of argument, Shannon D is responsible for her own charges. What I can do is I can uncheck the routed and put her to folio 1. Click post. Then on Shannon D, I click on her again. I'm going to go down to add note. I'm going to say Shannon with this group is responsible for all charges herself. I'm going to click post. And there we go. Now you'll also notice we have copy to the all reservations, even though the English is a little bit off. This basically would be if you were putting a note and you wanted it to show up on everyone, you would tick that little box. Okay, now as well for shares, okay? If we're going to add shares to a list, I would have to go to Harry A. I would click Change Res. I would go to Guest Share, Insert, and put the second person in here. Click OK. Then I would go to John D, Change Res. Guest Share, Insert, Alice M, and post, and so on. Okay, I'm going to close out of here, and we're going to go to the Talk World Discovery arriving on April 29th as well. So Talk sent me a rooming list as well. I just noticed in the question area that someone typed in that my audio is breaking up. Test, test. I think it might be okay. Hopefully it didn't last too long for you guys. Can someone just confirm if they can hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm going to go to number 6, the rooming list. Now here on the rooming list, see how we have 3 loft rooms and we have 3 deluxe rooms. So the contact is going to have to note who's in what room. Okay, now I'm going to leave the last one blank. I'm going to click Post. And let's say that the contact, when they sent us a rooming list, they did only send us 5 and tell us, yeah, we don't need that last deluxe room. So how do we release that room? I'm going to go over to number 4, the block. We're going to go back to Inventory. On the inventory screen, I can see we have 3 and 3 block inventory. If I go to block available, we have 1 deluxe room because remember, if I go to block picked up, we picked up 3 and 2. So to release that, if I go back to block available, I have the edit mode there. I can just change that to 0. Okay, or I could have done it under block inventory and just brought this down to 2 as well. Does the same thing. So now if I go to the rooming list, this is gone. Okay, so they only have the 5 rooms that they're picking up. Now, another thing, let's go back to our rates. And when I made this group, I attached the Talk World Discovery and the comp rate to our loft room. But remember, I made the default rate Talk World Discovery. So now if I go to the rooming list, when we entered in all those loft names on the list, see how it defaulted to Talk World Discovery, as it should have. But now let's say Barry Q is our tour guide, and our deal is we give 1 complimentary room. So if I click on this drop-down, there's that comp rate that I can choose. Choose comp and click Post. And then I might even want to go to Add Note so that the agent isn't confused and say Barry is the guide, his room is comp, and click Post. Okay, now one other thing as well, I'm going to right-click on the rooming list, and you'll notice that we have this Load from File. We do have a way, if you send out a spreadsheet in a very specific format to your group contact, and they fill it out for you, you can actually import a rooming list through a CSV format. Now we have a document on this. I'm not going to cover it in training. It's a very straightforward document. Do not skim. You must cover it step by step. It's especially important the format of the dates in here. And you can't leave, like say they had no children, you still have to put the 0. Don't leave it blank. Okay, so the doc is very good on that, and I'll show you in a little bit where you can find that. So if you're interested in that feature, it's certainly a time saver if you can get your group contact to fill out a rooming list in your format that you can import, right? Okay, so here we're going to go. We're going to take a break from the group area now, and we're going to jump over into Package Reservations. So I'm going to click on, oh, actually, before I do that, I'm going to go into System Configuration, Packages and Inclusions. For packages, you would have done a one-on-one training session with your trainer on the packages that you may have. I have 2 examples. So as a reminder, under Packages and Inclusions, here I have a package. A package is a package that is set for a number of nights. So my romance package is specifically a 2-night package, where upon arrival they get chocolate-covered strawberries and champagne in the room. The next morning they get romantic breakfast for 2 in bed, and then they have the deluxe lovers dinner in the restaurant the next evening. So it's a different set of items that they're getting on each day. If I go to the inclusions, notice the number of nights disappeared. So under packages, it's a set number of nights. Whereas inclusion package, it's the same thing every day. So my example here is the bed and breakfast package. If they stay for 1 night, they get breakfast in the morning. Stay for 3 nights, they get breakfast every morning. 7 nights, 10 nights, don't care, right? They can get the bed and breakfast package any length of time. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a booking. We are going to make it for the 29th for 2 adults. So now, if I look under my standard room, there's a bed and breakfast package. Romance package is not there. If I go to 2 nights, click refresh. Now I get the bed and breakfast package and the romance package. If I go to 3 nights, we're going to see the romance package disappear again. Okay, now I am going to cover the scenario or what if someone does want to come in for 3 nights and get the romance package for 2 of those nights. Okay, so we will talk about that. But let's start with the bed and breakfast package. So they're going to come on the 29th for 3 nights. And here it's $120 per day. Okay, we're going to check next to the bed and breakfast package, click book, and the rest is normal from here. Okay. Whenever you're doing a booking for a package, I strongly recommend that you put in a note about it. So guest on BB package for all 3 nights. Okay, and this will become more evident as I go further in the training here why I'm doing this note. Okay. Now as a reminder, if I try to make a booking, room key says reservation doesn't have a valid form of payment, cannot be guaranteed. I showed this last time. So to make a non-guaranteed reservation, we uncheck the guarantee checkbox and click OK. It will still take the booking, take the room out of inventory, but it's a non-guaranteed reservation, right? So blah 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 is guaranteed to credit card. Heather Lang is guaranteed to city account. Veronica Myers is a non-guaranteed reservation. Okay, so now we're going to make a new res. We're going to make it arriving on the 29th. For 2 nights, 2 adults. Put them in the loft this time. We're going to do the romance package. Now, the romance package, notice that it shows up as $323 the first night and $153 the second night. And the reason is all my inclusions, so everything that's included, the strawberries, the champagne, the meal, the breakfast, that all gets posted on that first night. So typically when we're quoting this, and again, speak to your manager about how they would like to do it, typically we would not quote $323 and $153. We would quote it as a full package price here of $476 is the preferred method, typically. I'm going to go to guest info. And here I'm going to put guest is on romance package. Okay, I'm going to click OK. Okay, now one thing you will notice with these guests, so Veronica Myers, notice that no rate shows up, and for Kate Upton, no rate shows up. And this is because on a package, it's not really a rate. The package is made up of a rate plus additional items that we want to have break down in the back end. And again, we'll get into this more when we cover front desk. Also, if we go to the confirmation, it's going to be a little bit different. See how it shows under guest services, romance package. And see here it shows the romance package for $476, the total price. And on the Tuesday and Wednesday, notice that room key does it even on each day. Okay, again, because it is actually I think it was 353 and 153 or whatever it was. But we don't want the guests to kind of see the higher amount and then the second night down, because then they'll start to do the math and figure stuff out. Not that we're hiding anything, but the whole idea is that we want to lump it together as one price. Okay, and then same for the bed and breakfast package. Bed and breakfast package, $360, $120 per day. Okay, so now let's go and do the situation I was talking about. Someone wants to book for the 29th for 3 nights, but they want the romance package. Now, as we said, the romance package is only 2 nights, so it's not going to show. So what I want to do is I kind of want to determine what is going to be the other night, that 3rd night. So let's say it's going to be the bar rate as the other. You'll notice here this little button here, see how it has 3 dots? This is our multiple rate area. Now, not a lot of people use this, mostly hotels that have packages. Okay, so it's not an obvious button. It's not obvious on purpose. Okay, so if you are going to use it, you click on the 3 dots, and that will bring you into the multi-rate area. Here it shows me my default rate is best available. And why it's doing that is just before I clicked on it, my little arrow was beside best available. So say I made the AAA rate the default and clicked the 3 little dots. Now my default rate is AAA. Okay, I can even change it from here as well. Okay. Okay, so here I do my best available, and room key is saying, okay, this is from the 29th to May 1st for the best available rate. That's what the R stands for. Over here, manual rate has an R because it is a rate plan, and it just says 0 nights. All that means is it's not limited. You can stay 2 nights, 10 nights, 20 nights, 30 nights, who cares? Best available, same thing. It's a rate, any number of nights. The romance package has a P. That means that that is a package. It's a set number of nights of 2 nights. And then the bed and breakfast package has an I because this is an inclusion package. Again, the number of nights is 0 because we can book this for any length of time, 1 night, 2 nights, 10 nights, whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the romance package. And we want the romance package to be for the first 2 nights, the 29th and 30th. I'm going to double click on the 29th, and the room key will say, okay, I'm going to put the romance package in for 2 nights, 29th and 30th. Now I'm just going to change the color here. You don't need to do this every time. This just makes it easier for you guys to see it on the screen. Click OK, and now see in blue here, I have 255 and 85 for the Tuesday and Wednesday, and then for the Thursday, we have 100. Up here it shows me, right, April 29th, April 30th is the romance package. May 1st, it is the best available rate. I'm going to click OK. Now when I click OK, notice that we're still displaying the best available rate. Here's the thing. If you're using a multiple rate, we can't display every rate. We're only going to show the default. So when we go to book this, this is where it becomes extremely important to put the note in here, guest on BB package for first 2 nights, bar for night 3. Okay, I'm going to click OK. And then when we go to the confirmation, See how it doesn't even show the package on here. And again, it's just when you're using multiple rate, we can't display everything. But if you look at the rate, see how it shows 170 for Tuesday, 170 for Wednesday? That's the package in there. And then the Thursday, the bar rate is $100. Okay, now I'm going to go to a little bit of an extreme. This will probably never happen in real life, but you never know. We're going to go to the 29th, make a reservation for 5 nights. For 2 adults. Okay, I'm going to choose my bar rate as my default. Click the 3 little dots. So what I'm going to do is, the guest is going to be on the bed and breakfast package on night 1. So I click on bed and breakfast, go to the 29th and double click. Now room key will say, well, I'm going to put it in for all 5 nights because I choose the first night and it's going to try to do all 5. I'm actually going to say, no, I only want it for 1 night, the 29th. Then I'm going to go to the romance package, double click on the 30th and put that in for 2 nights. And again, you don't need to do this coloring thing. I'm just doing it so you guys can see it more clearly. Then on the 4th night, we're going to go back to the bed and breakfast package. And for the last night, we're going to leave it as bar because they're leaving too early in the morning to have breakfast. Okay, so here we have B&B night 1, romance package night 2 and 3, B&B night 4, best available rate night 5. Okay, you may never get this extreme, but just to show you it's possible. Now one thing, you cannot do 2 packages on the same day. So they can't do the romance package and the bed and breakfast package on the same day. They would basically do romance package and then they would just, have breakfast as an add-on or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. We're going to book. Again, very important that I go to the res note. BB package night 1, romance package night 2, 3, BB package night 4, bar night 5. So remember, this message pops up on the screen as the guest is checking in. So it's really a reminder for the front desk agent, especially if you guys give out if you give out any vouchers for any of the items. Okay, and again, if I go to the confirmation, it's still going to be under best available, so we can't see the packages, but we can see 120 first night, 170, 170, 129, 110. So the rates are reflected here. Okay, now what about, let's say we get a phone call from Kate Upton. So I'll go into search, advanced search, clear the last search I looked for, Upton search, and there we have a canceled one, so this is the one here. I'm going to click modify. And Miss Upton says that she would like to add a night to her reservation. So here we can see that she already booked a romance package. We know that the romance package is a 2-night package. So normally we would just uncheck the book button and change the number of nights. But in this case, because she's on a set package as a 2-night package, the number of nights is actually grayed out. So to be able to make this change, we actually need to convert the rate. So when I click on convert rate, see how that switched over to manual rate. And the number of nights opened up, so now I can go to 3 nights and click refresh. I would click on the little plus symbol, go into the multi-rate area, and see how room key, it still held the romance package for the night so the 29th and 30th. But then on the last night, it just took a manual rate. And you'll notice what it did. See how the first night of the romance package is 323, second night is 153? For that third night, RoomKey just copies whatever the last rate is and makes it a manual rate for that last night. Okay, so at that time you might want to say, well, yeah, I don't agree with that. So what I can do, I can click on the best available and put that in for the last night instead. So now it's romance package for first 2 nights and bar for the last night. Okay, and then I might even want to change the default rate over to bar, so that's what displays. Okay, so a little bit different when you're changing a reservation. I'm then going to go to guest info. I'm going to go to click to view res notes. Here I had the guest is on romance package, and now I'm going to put in here guest called today to add another night bar. That's best available rate. Okay, I click post. And so here we're getting the time date stamp and who put this in. Okay, I'm going to click post. Oh, I did click post, so I'm just going to close out, click OK to save the change. Okay, so at this point, I believe we are going to end there for Multirate reservation at another night. Perfect. Okay, so I've gone through everything in the list. Now I do want to point out a couple of little things here. If I go up into the help menu, I'm going to go to RoomKey Smart Support. Okay, the Smart Support is a direct way for you to get instant answers. So how to import a rooming list, for example. So how to import a rooming list into the group wizard. So that's what I was talking about. I'm not going to show you in training, but this doc does exist. So I'm going to click on click here, and that's going to open up a PDF for me. Okay, I'm going to have to share my whole screen. Bear with me for a moment. You guys are going to go back to the meeting screen momentarily. I'm going to open. And here are the instructions on doing a rooming list here. So again, we give if you are in this feature, this is the main thing. The arrival date, you have to use a very specific format for it to work. Okay, month, day, year, in that format. Okay, and this just gives the instructions on how to import the file and how to use that feature. Okay, so you can get other answers in here. Now say I type in how to fly an F-47. I get no results. So at that point, I can just click on email us, and that will be sent to our support department, and you'll get an answer. Okay. Now we also have live chat support. Now live chat support is going to be open from 6 a.m. Pacific time until 6 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, there should always be someone on. Now there are other times where we may have like a half an hour or our general meeting once a month where it will be shut down for a little bit. But in general, it's going to be on during those hours at any given time. Okay, I'm actually going to show you how the live chat works here in just a moment. Okay, so what I'm logging into here is the interface on our side for the live chat. I think I'm logging into live chat. Okay, so what I'm going to do, we're going to do the example. So I'm going to go to Help, Live Chat Smart Support. I'm going to type in, I need help with Res ID 1295. I'm going to click Help. That little noise you just heard was what we hear on our side. Okay, we're going to grab it. Once someone grabs it, our little picture is going to come up here, and it'll say Shane is connected to assist you. How can I help? So then what's going to happen is most likely whoever it is, if it's me, I'm going to log into your property. I'm going to go to Res ID 1295 and see how I can help. Okay, you can send screenshots or error messages or any files. Basically just type down here after the initial message, and you type down here, send message. Again, we get that noise, and then we talk back and forth. Okay. Once the item is done, I'm going to close the case on our side. And I'll say chat was closed by room key support. Okay. Now I'm also going to go, this is our last reservation webinar. We had 2 in the series. Next, we're going to be getting into the front desk. So our next 2 sessions are going to be front office basic and front office advanced. So I'm just going to go over to our website for a moment. And I'm not sure why it's not showing. You guys are going to go back to the meeting screen momentarily. And hopefully this will come up in just a moment. There we go. Okay, so on our website, roomkeytms.com, if I click support in the upper right-hand corner, okay, this is where you went to sign up for all the webinars as well. We're going to have videos and documents. Now, this is actually changing in the next month. We're making some changes. We're going to be embedding the files, the videos for these webinars is going to be embedded as a YouTube link, because we are understanding that some people are having some issues opening or downloading the GoToMeeting videos that we have. So we're going to be putting those, embedding YouTube. Okay, so here, if I go to the room key reservation documents and videos and click the plus symbol, here we have the training manual, 130 pages. We also have some other little videos here. But if I go to the training manual of 130 pages, what I would recommend to you is still go through this manual and use the table of contents as your guide. There are some things that I did not cover in the webinars that are on this document. There are pretty straightforward little features in there, so I strongly recommend going through the document. Okay, but how to make a booking for an individual transient guest, I did that last session. Corporate, we did that today. Wholesale, I did not do at all. Most people don't use our wholesale area. As a reminder, the wholesale is if you were to give a 2-room block to a company for the whole year. Okay, so something like Tarico Holidays, where we're giving them a 2-room block for the whole year. If you do need something like this, a block for a whole year for a company, please let your trainer know directly, and they will train you specifically on the wholesale area. The wholesale area is actually a combination of the corporate area and the group area. So if you know those two, you're going to be able to pick up wholesaler quite easily. Okay, so again, let your trainer know directly if you need wholesale block. Okay, it's not if you're working with a wholesaler. If you're working with a wholesaler and they don't have block, they really just go into the corporate area because it's just a company that we deal with. But it's if they actually have block. Okay, waitlist reservation I didn't cover, but there is a short little blurb on that. How to override a rate using manual rate we did, how to overbook, how to view the room type and rate description. So again, use this table of contents as you're weighing, do I know this? If not, then here's the pages and numbers that we can go and refer to. Okay, so at this point, I'm actually going to stop the recording.